Oh, it's almost over. It's almost. We did the last. Usually around this time, Philadelphia is in the playoffs because they almost always make the playoffs. I had multiple videos hyping up the Eagles, saying what I think is going to happen for this run and their path to the Super Bowl. And the last time I talked with Philadelphia Eagles, it was there's only going to be one more of these videos. They're going to be one and done, and we're going to be able to get to the offseason. That's when the fun starts because we're going to talk about probably a new coaching staff. Who should they bring in? We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about free agency. Who they're going to get rid of on this roster. And that's where we're at, man. I'm taking two. This is take two because I pretty much have to do 3-4 takes of this because I swear too much in the beginning. And that gets the video demonetized. Got to calm down, try to be somewhat professional and articulate as best as I can be, but I haven't seen the game. Like, I stopped watching like 6 minutes. Darius Slay went down with like a knee injury. And since that time, I think Chris Godwin has a touchdown. So it's almost over. You know, outright, I hate to say, does this sting any less? Knowing that the Cowboys loss was even more embarrassing. I'm not going to say it stings any less, but it's you know, it helps. It helps a little bit, right? We got a big old sunburn, and at least we got a little gob of that aloe gel. Might not be able to cover the whole sunburn, but I'm sure shit makes that shoulder really nice to lay on. You can at least lay on the side at nighttime and not be breathing in pain. That's the analogy we're gonna use for Dallas yesterday. But ultimately, I was pissed off anyways that this game was on Monday, making me. They should have put this game on Friday, so we can just get it over with. Delay the Baker made the Bucks suck. All due respect, Eagles suck. I'm not sitting here saying Bucks suck. Cry more. The Bucks are not a good football team. They're going to get absolutely. This is either team that wins this game is vastly inferior to the other 3 remaining playoff teams. So congrats, Bucks. You earned the right to go get absolutely smashed by the Lions next week. Thank you for taking that ass win for us because it would have been the exact same for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a game that Nick Sirianni should be coaching for his job for, right? Nick Sirianni is the offense. As much as Brian Johnson's there, and as much as Brian Johnson is probably still a damn good quarterback coach, and he wasn't ready. He was not ready, and I think maybe there's a shot because he's best friends with Jalen Hurts. Maybe he'll take that demotion in stride like Sean Desai did and pump him back down to quarterback coach, bring in a new OC, bring in a new DC. Do you bring in a new head coach? It's kind of what we're going to finish talking about here on this video. But ultimately, this is Nick Sirianni's offense. And yeah, it sucks being down A.J. Brown, right? And if you're going to look at it, it's like, well, Nick Sirianni didn't have the best chance to prove himself because A.J. Brown wasn't playing in the game. Well, fuck, it's on Nick Sirianni why A.J. Brown's hurt in the first place. I get the idea of trying to play your starters last week on that death trap of a field in New York to try to get some momentum going in the playoffs, right? I at least understand that. And you give them a little bit of leeway and being like, you know what? Understandable. This team was dog shit. Trying to spark them against a bad team. I get it. But at the end of the day, you're on the worst field in football, maybe even pro sports. And A.J. Brown got hurt. Your star wide receiver, one of the two, because Devontae Smith is incredible. But your star wide receiver gets hurt. That is on the head coach. So Nick Sirianni didn't do himself any favor here in this. I got to defend and prove why I deserve to be the head coach of Philadelphia. And then you have this whole week, they're releasing hype trailers, releasing all these different things. It's 0-0. It's a new season. Just making you think there's something. There's a conspiracy theory that Philly was purposely tanking, right? Stick with me. They're tanking. They weren't showing their full playbook so they could really start the postseason on fire. This was the exact fucking same offense that we have seen the whole year that hasn't worked. Luckily, when we had the ball and the flukes falling our right way, yeah, you know, during that 10-1, Philly showed signs of like a legitimate, like this team can do damage in the playoffs. It might not be always pretty or finding ways to win against really good teams. But the offense had its problems. And then when the ball, you know, we all saw the last 7 weeks, what is it, 6-1 in terms of losses to wins. And this offense is the exact same. I think the biggest kick in the ass about this performance is like, I don't think it's any different if A.J. Brown's out there. Like, that's always going to be like A.J. Brown is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Missing a top 5 player like that is, you know, that Philadelphia, it's going to be hard to score a lot of points when you're down A.J. Brown. If he was out there, it would be the same fucking offense that just doesn't work on top of the fact, and it'd be even worse because we're full strength out there. God bless Devontae Smith. Incredible. I can't even not fault Devontae Smith, because you want to look at the stat line here. 8 catches, 148 yards. You want to be like, oh, that's pretty good, right? That's, make sure we're not getting demonetized. Oh, that's pretty good. But, like, you take any of the catches, Kate Otten, David Moore, Trey Palmer, Mike Evans. I didn't see the Godwin touchdown. But all these ones, I'm not even going to exaggerate. I don't even need to see the numbers. I'm going to say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm going to say 10 of those 14 were wide open. So they were just wide open in the middle of the fucking field, making plays. Obviously, Trey Palmer broke Bradbury's ankles. Oh, God, that's a bad one. We're also going to touch on James Bradbury for a second. But every, 6 of the Devontae 8 were, top 10 Sports Center. He's jumping up, contested catch, double coverage. How does he make that play type catches? Why is everything so fucking hard? Why do they make it so hard? And, I want to be the first to say Jalen needs to play better, but, even the PFF nerds have, I think he was the 6th highest graded quarterback this year. It's not all on Jalen, unless somehow, some way, if Nick Sirianni gets canned and he goes on, he starts leaking shit, saying, yeah, we had blitz beaters, we had hot routes, and Jalen Hurts just would not throw to them. He was sabotaging the play calls that were coming in. There's no way that this offense regresses this bad and it's on the players. There's no way Philadelphia has Jalen Hurts, has the offensive line, Devontae Smith, has Dallas Goedert, has all these guys on the defense. There's no plausible way all those guys are regressing at the exact same time. The Eagles' free fall is due to the coaching. And the fact that in what seemingly should be an entire coaching staff coaching for their jobs, they made 0 adjustments from what's not been working for the last month and a half. It was the exact same defense that we've seen be underperformed and get absolutely roasted on pretty much every form of football analysis. It's the exact same offense we've seen get roasted on multiple forms of football analysis, and it's the exact same results. You lost to a Bucs team that sucks ass. I don't know, man. Jalen with the beat up finger, I don't think he played a bad game. I don't think he played a good game. I think it was just kind of like a C for throwing out a grade there. DeAndre Swift didn't get enough touches. Devontae Smith, A+. Best player in this game on either side of the field was Devontae Smith. For whatever consolation that is. Defense for the Philadelphia Eagles was ridiculously poor. I think Milton Williams had a good game. I think BG, look at that sack. 3 TFLs in what could be his final game as an Eagle. I thought he made some plays in the rotational. I thought Nolan Smith had a really, really good pass rush that showed glimpses of this project edge rusher that we drafted the first round. Son Riddick continued to be a ghost. Josh Sweat didn't make enough plays, even though he got a sack there. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Is Jalen Carter still going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year? Just these guys gassed. They hit the rookie wall. But James Bradbury, when it comes to defense, we'll save him for last because Kevin Byard did fuck all. Darius Leonard's not even getting on the field. Avonte Maddox plays come off a cliff. Darius Slay, what happened there? Nicholas Moore. The only reason why I think they have Nicholas Moore out there at this point is because he was wearing the green dot. As soon as I saw that green dot on his helmet, because I remember Reed Blankenship was waiting for a game, but then he put it back on Moore. I was he's not coming out the field. This is the only guy that... Put the fucking dot on Cunningham and get, Van Sumeren. Someone that can actually go out there and run. Morrow is, that's the one piece that I think Howie Roseman has to eat on this, is his roster-building philosophy is getting outdated. This is the season to go, well, we still made the playoffs, okay? It still was, in some way, shape, or form, in terms of measurement, a successful season anytime you make the playoffs. But this is the year that Howie Roseman has, like he did with the drafting. He definitely has refined his drafting. He took a couple L's, and to his credit, he figured it out. This needs to be that type of moment, teaching moment for Howie Roseman that you cannot ignore the linebacker spot. You cannot just sell out for offensive and defensive line. You got to get young players. You got to get talented depth at these positions, not just UDFA flyers. You got to invest. Look at the best look at the team still remaining in the playoffs. Right? At least the Bills, the way the Bills are structured, they still have Matt Milano. They still had Terrell Bernard, right? Guys that, they invested somewhat deep. Like, even what was Bernard? I love Bernard out of Baylor. He's one of my guys. I probably could go find a draft video where I said Terrell Bernard literally was my sleeper at the linebacker position. Loved him at Baylor. But even where he was like a 4th or 5th round pick, that'd be a huge investment for the Eagles. We just don't fucking acknowledge that position. Outside of the Kobe Dean, who gets hurt all the time. We don't even know if he's good or not. But this needs to be when Howie Roseman, because we saw he literally panicked. He panicked because our safety depth and traded for Kevin Byard. We got nothing of value. That is Golden Tate 2.0 type trade. We didn't like our linebackers, so we literally cut Nicholas Morrow and brought him back. We signed Zach Cunningham late in the offseason. We, UDFA type guys. We signed Shaq Leonard. Can't even get on the field. The panic at those two positions, I think, will be enough of like a learning moment to flick that switch off and Howie Roseman's head to change how change how he builds his defense. And I'm not saying you go get a linebacker in the first round. There's probably not a first round linebacker, but maybe we invest a little money there. Maybe we don't just look at TJ Edwards and Kaiser White and just assume that these guys are going to be replaceable, right? So there could be good coming out of this. The good first piece on Howie Roseman, the good is maybe this is enough for him to alter his philosophy when it comes to building the defense. Still prioritize the defense line. Don't get me wrong, we don't need a complete 180. But when this is a team that, and this is no shot at Fletcher Cox, because he's honestly been one of our better players. Fletcher Cox has played better than Jalen Carter, better than Jordan Davis down the stretch. But when you pay Fletcher Cox $12 million to come back for 1 year and completely sell out at safety and linebacker because you have to build the trenches. No, you fucking drafted Jalen Carter. You have Milton Williams, who needs more reps. You have Jordan Davis. In reality, Fletcher Cox should almost be viewed as that 4th rotational veteran guy. You're paying him $12 million on the open market in what you literally probably could have got TJ Edwards and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back for what they went for, right? Like, that is where it needs to learn. And again, I'm not using that to roast Fletcher Cox. He's been great. Better than a lot of players on this team this year. Did not bust out of that contract. But the fact that that contract was offered in the first place, the fact that this defense was constructed by having still that much money invested in the defensive line, we're going to have to pivot. Absolutely going to have to pivot this year. But in closing, we go on the head coach. Like, is Nick Sirianni going to survive this? I feel like, I would say last week, even the last 2 weeks, it's been like, what does Nick Sirianni do? What literally value does he offer to this team? I think he should be fired. To last week, my opinion turned to, I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired, which is still a massive take, given the fact he was just in the Super Bowl. And his record over the last couple seasons stacks up with any coach in the NFL. To even remotely be like, yeah, if they fire him, I get it, is insane. It should not be a conversation, but that is where we were last week. This week, I'm 60-40 he should get fired. Before it was a dead-on 50, either way, it makes sense. You can fire him because this has been terrible and an utter collapse. And I don't know what he does to the team, but also, does he earn enough to come back and say, I'm going to give him a plan, we're going to redo it, I'm going to get a new OC, new DC, we're going to retool things, let's go, give me 1 more year. That was reasonable. That's a reasonable situation, I think, on either side. Now, I think what's working against Sirianni in the reality to say, could he actually be gone, is the quality of head coaching candidates that are out there, right? You have Bill Belichick. It's funny for the memes. It's not going to happen, right? I think the Chip Kelly saga between that and Howie Roseman has too much power to even, like, entertain the idea of bringing in Bill Belichick. Even though there is, like, a world where, like, if somehow Bill Belichick's like, no, Howie, you're the GM. I'm not going to be Bill, the CEO, right? I'll coach the team, you the GM, and use Bill Belichick's, mastermind still as a defensive head coach. You bring in a new OC. You have Howie Roseman as one of the best GMs. Like, that could be a powerhouse dynamic. That would be awesome. It could also blow up in his face a little bit. But I don't think after Chip Kelly, especially with that whole, like, having that CEO type head coach, is going to fly with Howie Roseman. But you have Belichick out there. You have Mike Vrabel out there, who I will say I'd be down. At the end of the day, Sirianni's gone. We bring in Mike Vrabel. That is a guy that you can get excited for. But defensive head coach, I don't feel like that's the direction that Jeffrey Lurie will want to go. He's always trying to preach, I want an innovative coach. And I think, you look at everyone that's still in the play. You look at, like, the top coaching candidates, it's never the fucking defensive guy, right? unless you get a true 10 out of 10 defensive coach with an unknown ceiling, like DeMeco Ryans. Because we see with Vrabel that he has limitations when it comes to offense. And if you hire Mike Vrabel, you better hire a good offensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel, that is for sure. There was still at least an unknown with DeMeco Ryans, right? And you knew you were going to be able to poach someone from San Francisco, which gives you a little bit more flexibility there. But if it's not someone rare like DeMeco Ryans, imagine DeMeco Ryans here in Philadelphia. Imagine Mufasa on this, like, with that Slowick guy at OC. Oh, man. We're not going to go that way. But I would say for Vrabel, interesting hire. I just don't think Philadelphia would go with a defensive head coach because we want to play offense. But Vrabel, Harbaugh, that would be interesting. I almost feel like would Lurie be petty enough to try to make that to like piss off the Niners? Like, is there truly like a beef between these two teams, or Lurie be like, yeah, give me Harbaugh? I don't know enough. Like, does Harbaugh have a system? Like, I know Harbaugh, offensive coach, right? Quarterback guy. I knew more about Harbaugh when he was at Stanford. But, like, at Michigan, right? Not the best offense. But, like, does Harbaugh have a scheme? Because I think Philly needs to get that off. We need to get a head coach that is scheme-proof, right? That is the issue right now with Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is an offensive head coach that doesn't have a scheme. His scheme is, hope to God, this roster Howie Roseman built is good enough to run these high school offense that I'm trying to implement here, right? So if you get someone like Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, you get someone like that, like, regardless of if his offensive staff gets poached and pillaged, like we've seen with Sean McVay, like we've seen with Kyle Shanahan, it will keep going because it's the head coach at the end of the day. The head coach is the focal point of the offense, and I almost feel like that could be the deciding factor for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Is at the end of the day, Nick, they sit down the exit interview. At the end of the day, Nick, we just need a coach that has a system. You don't have a system. You are a, at best, player coach. And when push comes to shove, it's, how is this not going to happen again? I think that would be my closing arguments on this with Nick Sirianni. To try to just cap this off, I'm a little bit faded right now. Would be, if Nick Sirianni was only as good as his coaching staff was, and with a good coaching staff, Nick Sirianni could do what he does well, which is be like a player's coach, right? If that has to be that perfect scenario for the best of Nick Sirianni, and we just saw what you get when you have bad coordinators underneath him, right? What is going to stop if you give Nick Sirianni another chance and we hit a home run on an OC and a DC? We bring in Jesse Minter from Michigan. We bring in Jim Leonard from college. You bring in an offensive coordinator. I have no idea. I'm going to say Cliff Kingsbury just because that's literally the only name. He was terrible in Arizona. But I'm just saying, you bring in like Cliff Kingsbury, you get an exciting name at OC, you get an exciting hot name at DC, and we have a similar run. We're like, oh man, Philly's back. Yes. So glad we didn't fire Sirianni. We're back. We gave him that second chance. If those coaches get poached again and it starts that cycle all over again, we don't want to keep playing this like massive swing that we better be able to keep replenishing great OCs and great DCs because our head coach is a liability if he has to do it on his own. That would be my argument to the people that say we got to give Nick another chance. Because what I've seen is, if at best case scenario of giving Nick another chance, we will eventually be where we are right now because it's on the OC and DC, not him. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to bed. I'm going to try to wake up early tomorrow and get out a new Honey Hunters. Thank you guys for all the support on that series. If it wasn't for that series kind of popping off, doing well, and everyone enjoying it, I'd be even more sad than I am right now. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Love you. Have a good one. Subscribe. For the love of God, subscribe.